Hello guys, welcome back to our last sections of this course, files. So in these lessons, you will learn how to open and how to close a text file using C++ coding in a proper way. Okay, so before this, what is text file first? Alright, so a text file is basically a computer file that only contains of the text and has no special formatting like bold text, italic text, images or extra. Okay, the text files are identified with .txt file extension or .dat file extension, and this text file is commonly saved in the secondary storage like a C drive, D drive or a pen drive. Right, so one of the common example of the text file here is the notepad. Alright, that is available in your Windows. You can just type whatever you want without considering the format and the images. Okay, so what's so special about the text file and the C++ IDE? What is the relationship? So basically, we can use the text file as our input for the C++ IDE, such as a Visual Studio. Okay, let's say we have a list of data that's going to fit into this Visual Studio for manipulations or for computation. Basically, we don't need to manually key the data manually one by one. Instead, we can just write some command to ask the Visual Studio to help us to read all the data from the text file and process. Also, we can just export the result that computed just now onto another text file instead of displaying the result on the output screen, but we export the result onto the text file, where we can do some post-processing later, such as print out the data or you want to analyze the data on the text file. Yes. Alright, if you notice the from the previous lessons, such as the array structure, that the result that you get from the array or the structures, that if you notice from the previous lessons, okay, the array and the structures that actually hold the data temporarily, where the data is gone once the program has completed its execution. However, files can hold the data permanently regardless of the program which refer to it has finished its execution. Okay, don't worry, later I will show you how to actually import the file and do some processing and then export into another file. Alright, so to import or to export a file or to a file, there are 5 important steps. There are 5 main steps. You just need to follow these 5 main steps. So the first step include the header file fstream. Second step, declare the filestream variables. The third one, associate the filestream variables with the input-output sources. The fourth one will be use the filestream variables, and the last one, you have to close the file. So now I will we will go into the step by step in more details. Okay, the first step, you have to include the header file. Alright, so there are 2 very important data types inside the fstreams, which are the ifstream and ofstream. So ifstream is used whenever you want to import the data from a file into your C++ IDE. Meanwhile, ofstream is used whenever you want to export the data from your IDE to a file. Alright, this is first step. Okay, second step, declare the filestream variable. Unlike iostream header file, we can straight away use cin to read the input and cout to display the output on the screen. But in fstream header file, we have to declare a variable for this ifstream and ofstream type. As long as the variable name is meaningful and follow the rules of identifier, then it is okay. Okay, so normally I will just give a name such as in data, out data. Okay, so it is understood that I'm going to import data or export data. Okay, so you just assume that this in data is like cin and then out data will be like cout. Okay, just the source of the platforms that read and display is different. It's not no longer on the screen, but we are now in this time we deal with this file. We export to the file, we import from a file. Okay, so once you've done the step 2, you have to go to the step 3. Okay, since you need a file to be accessed to read or to export your data into that particular file. So you have to create or open the file first. So in order to open the files, you have to follow the syntax. Alright, in data, okay, in this case, in data will be your ifstream variables. So you have to follow this dot opens. Okay, means that you are going to open the input file. Okay, same to like output file. Let's say you want to export a file, export the data onto the file, then you have to open the output file first. Alright, if you didn't create a file or to store your data, then this C++ is basically to help you to generate a new file for you in the same folder of your program. Alright, so next step 4 is to start to use the filestream variable to read or to export the data to a file. Just assume that this ifstream is like cin and to read the data from a file. This in data means that you are going to read some data from a file and then store into this pay rate variables. Meanwhile, this out data is you are going to display this value in this pay variable onto a text file. Okay, so once you have done reading or exporting the data, the last step you must do is close the file. Okay, you must close the file. If you forget to close the file, the output data in the memory buffer that waiting to be sent to the file could be lost. Okay, so remember we have 5 steps dealing with these files. You must follow these 5 steps. Alright, so now let's move on to the case study. So this is the questions. Write a C++ program to perform the following task. Okay, you need to prompt the user to input any 5 integers and write them into the file raw file.txt. So the file will store the integer in a single line where each integer is separated by the tab space. Right? Okay, which means that you have to read the input given by the user. Alright, then you have to export this value onto the text file. Okay, then repeat another 4 times with 5 values. You have to store 5 values into this text file. Alright, and then finally this is your expected output. So I expect there will be 5 values on the text file, and the text file name is raw file.txt. Alright, so come back to this coding. Alright, go to the coding. Yeah, this is how it look like. Okay, remember the 5 steps you have to follow. The first one you have to include the header file stream, fstream. So in this case, I just want to export the data out from the IDE to the file. So in this case, I just need ofstream file variable. Okay, so I declare variable out data using this type ofstream, and then step 3, I need to open a file, raw file, ready to store the data from my Visual Studio. Okay, so for I equal to 1, I as long as less than 5, so it will ask the user key in the first value, and then I key in the first value here, and this value will be export. Step 4 will be export into the raw file.txt. Okay, this is step 4. Run, read 5 times, and then lastly close the file. Okay, so let's run the program. So please take note for the top right corner here, the file here. Okay, once I run the program, so can you see there is a file appear in this folder, same folder as your program, known as raw file. Alright, so it's waiting for the user to key in 5 values. So let's say I key in 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Alright, so I've done my value here. So now go back to the files. Okay, go back to the file. Double click this raw file. Right. Yeah, this is the output. So it will create a text file for me in the same folder of your program, and we'll store the 5 values that key in by the user just now: 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Okay. Okay, just now you have learned how to export a data into a file. So now look at these questions. You are required to import the data that you export just now from this raw file.txt. Okay, you have to import the value back from this file and then manipulate them and then export the value into another file known as scorefile.txt. Alright, so this is how it looks like. Okay, you have to read the value from this raw file.txt. Okay, import into your IDE and then manipulate, calculate the total, export onto another txt file known as scorefile.txt. And this is how it looks like. You should import from here into the IDE, export into another file, display team1 equal 20, and then repeat. Read the second value, import into the IDE, into your VS, do some computation, export, repeat, and do the last value, and then to calculate the total and the average. Okay, so come back to the coding. Okay, so this is the coding part. Alright, so again, first step, include the header file fstream. So in this case, I'm going to import as well as to export. So I need to declare both file stream. Alright, ofstream to export, ifstream to import. Alright, so this one is normal. I declare the index, and declare the counter here, and then the variables. Alright, so I open my raw file as well as my score file. Alright, this is step number 3. Alright, and then step 4, I start to use the filestream variables. So out data, score sheet. So I want to display this score sheet onto the text file as well as this one, this line 19. Alright, then I start to perform the reading. Okay, I start to read. Okay, in data means import. I start to read this first value. Alright, okay, I start to read this 10 and store into this integer. Okay, I read this 10, store in this integer. Alright, and then I calculate the total. I export this team, alright, onto the score file as well as the 20, the value 20 here, value 20, and I repeat. Okay, I read 10 and then I store into another file, read 20, store into another file, 30, 40, and the last value, and then I compute the total as well as the average, and then I export all of the information here to the scorefile.txt. And then finally, remember, you have to close both files. Alright, so let's run the program. Yeah, so can you see? You see, this is the output. Alright, you have another additional file appear in this folder, known as score file. So let's open the score file. Okay, so I open the score file. This is how it looks like. Yes, remember. Okay, out data. Okay, out data score sheet. So it will display this score sheet, and then it will display this ... Then you will start to read the value 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It import from this raw file, do some computation, and then export into this file. Alright, export into this file. Alright, and then I display the total as well as the average. Yeah, it's pretty simple, right? So as long as you follow the 5 steps that I mentioned just now. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we need to always make sure that the file that you read is always ready as it and located at the correct folder. So in this case, we have to do some input validations. Okay, we need to always check whether the file exists or not, or whether it located at the correct folder or not. Alright, so it is very important here. Whenever you want to read the file or read the data from a file, you must include this input validations. So where I will show you now. Alright, come back to here. Okay, so you just need to add this command. Okay, you just need to add this command. Okay, if not equal int data, it means that it's going to check whether the file opening error or not, whether the file exists or not. If let's say it doesn't exist, then it will show you error opening file. Or if let's say you put a typo error, you put the wrong file name, or you open the wrong folder, it will show you these error opening file. This command is to check whether you open correct files or not. Alright, if not, it will return 1. It means that it will exit the program. You will stop the whole program, exit. Alright, so remember, this is a very important note. Whenever you want to read a program, whenever you want to read a data from a file, okay, make sure you include this input validation. Alright, okay, in the previous case, we used for loop to read each piece of the data from a file. However, in some situation, it is not necessary to know how much data is in the file. So basically, we can just use the command EOF, stand for end of file functions, to check whether the last piece of data has been read or not. Okay, if the last piece of the data is reached, then the EOF, this end of file, will return true. Else, it will return false. Alright, so okay, I will show you the demo. Okay, look at these codings. So this is the coding that I showed you just now. I use for loop to read the data. I know that I have 5 data, so I use for loop. But in some occasions, I don't know how exact the number of data in the particular file. So I can just use EOF functions. As long as the EOF, okay, as long as not reach the end data, then I will continue to read the data in the particular file. I will continue until it reaches the end of file. Then it will jump up from the loop using this while loop and then this command EOF. Okay, remember EOF stands for end of file. As long as not reach end of file, it will continue to read the data. Alright, so I will run the program. Then 20, 30, 40, 50. So I have 2 files here. So I just open. Okay, so as you can see, so this is the file that generated using the for loop, and this is the second file generated using this end of file. Both will produce the same result. Okay, so if let's say you don't know what is the exact number of data in the particular file, so you can use this command end of file to check whether the last piece of data has been read or not. Alright, so another one important note here is you must add a white space, which is a space, tab or enter after the last piece of data to make sure this EOF works correctly. That's why you can see that I will add this tab. Okay, I will add this tab, okay, for the last piece of the data. So to make sure this EOF works correctly. Okay, so that's all for this video. Also, that's all for the whole C++ course. So I hope my videos are able to help the students in learning the C++ in more effective and happy ways. So, and I hope to see you in another class, and have a good day ahead. Okay, bye.